Let's talk about autistic meltdowns. Hey, folks. Welcome to the Autistic Adoptee channel. As the channel name suggests, I am both autistic and I am an adoptee. In one of the online autistic communities that I belong to, a member recently asked what the difference between an autistic meltdown and a mental breakdown was, or if they are in fact the same thing. And this is a legit question because the two are often confused or conflated with one another or for one another, right? Another important distinction to make here is the difference between an autistic meltdown and a tantrum, because autistic folks are often accused of throwing tantrums when they are in fact experiencing a full-on autistic meltdown. So in this episode, we're going to explore this topic and talk through the differences between meltdowns, breakdowns, and tantrums. So let's start with mental breakdowns. What is a mental breakdown? A mental breakdown or nervous breakdown is not a clinical diagnosis. It's a colloquial term that we use to describe a myriad of possible symptoms and causes. Most commonly, it refers to a period of intense mental and emotional distress, often related to an inability to cope with the pressures or challenges in one's life. It can manifest as various combinations of withdrawal, depression, anger, or irritability, lack of interest in participating in normal activities that the person would normally participate in, self-sabotage or self-harm. And in some extreme cases, it can even lead to a form of catatonia, of going into a catatonic state. A breakdown can last for days or weeks or months or years even, right? In contrast, a meltdown is generally much shorter in duration, hours or a day or two on the outside if you count the recovery time, the time needed to recover from the emotional expenditure that is an autistic meltdown. Meltdowns are, generally speaking, something that many autistic folks experience. Not all. Some folks don't really lean towards meltdowns, but in general, it's something that many autistic folks experience. And meltdowns are a response to overwhelming sensory and or emotional input. And the triggering input might be sudden, like being thrust into a situation where you're being bombarded by sensory and or emotional input, right? Or it can be something that can just build up over time, like nothing in your day is going right. You can't eat your safe foods. The lights at work are buzzing. The tag on your shirt is driving you up the wall. The neighbor next to you is wearing a different perfume. Your routine gets disrupted, and on and on and on until it builds up through the course of the day, to the point that a meltdown, just you're overwhelmed to the point of meltdown. So the trigger for a meltdown can be sudden, or it can be something that builds over time. Um, and meltdowns will involve like an intense emotional and behavioral response, an involuntary emotional and behavioral response that can be marked by crying or shouting or self-harm or involuntary repetitive movement or inability to communicate or physical or verbal aggression or some combination of those things, right? The biggest differences here are that mental breakdowns can last for days, weeks, months, years, or more, while meltdowns are sudden, intense, and rarely last more than a few hours or a day at most, if you add in the recovery time. Breakdowns are caused by the inability to handle life's challenges or a particular event that pushes already strained emotional and mental capacity beyond a bearable point. Meltdowns, however, are triggered by sensory overload, communication difficulties, or state changes like changes in routines or plans that weren't anticipated, or intense emotional input, right? Breakdowns, while sometimes marked by outbursts, are often accompanied by withdrawal, feelings of hopelessness, and like I said, can even lead to catatonia in extreme cases. Meltdowns often manifest as outward bursts of emotion, right? So, what about tantrums? Tantrums are one of the most common false accusations that autistic people regularly experience. And I'll just say up front that the accusation is infantilizing and ignorant much of the time. It's ugly, so just don't do it. Tantrums are controlled attempts at manipulation, right? The person can begin or end a tantrum voluntarily. They have a goal and are aimed at a specific outcome. The tantrum duration is determined by whether or not the desired goal or outcome is achieved, or when the person throwing the tantrum runs out of steam, or when they realize that they're not going to get their way and they change tactics, right? Meltdowns, however, are, as previously mentioned, involuntary. They are not initiated voluntarily and cannot be ended voluntarily. They can sometimes be contained somewhat, but internal meltdowns, that's probably its own episode, so we're not going to delve into that. And again, meltdowns are a response to sensory and or emotional overwhelm. They are not driven by a goal or an outcome. The meltdowns often leave the autistic person experiencing the meltdown completely drained and burnt out. And it can take an extended period of time to recover that emotional energy from that intense emotional outpouring, right? It takes time to recover from a meltdown. So basically, tantrums are voluntary, meltdowns are not. Tantrums are an attempt to manipulate or control an outcome or goal. Meltdowns are not. Tantrums begin and end when the person having the tantrum decides, right? Meltdowns have to run their own course, They can't just be ended because a goal was met. Post-tantrum recovery is not really a thing. It might be wiping a few tears or feeling a little tired from throwing yourself on the floor or whatever. So post-tantrum recovery is not really a thing. Recovering from a meltdown usually takes a day or more to recover that emotional energy that was burned, that was expelled so suddenly and violently. Now, to be fair, autistic people are people like everyone else, and they are fully capable of throwing tantrums. And a tantrum that an autistic person throws, it can morph into a meltdown if the tantrum is accompanied by sensory and or emotional issues all at the same time. Even so, as I said earlier, accusing an autistic person who has experienced a meltdown of throwing a tantrum, accusing them of throwing a tantrum when they are in fact in the middle of a meltdown, is cruel, it is ignorant, and it is infantilizing. Just don't ever do that, okay? The key thing here is that while breakdowns and tantrums might seem to share some surface level similarities to the uninformed, they are fundamentally distinct things that differ on many much deeper levels, right? So what about y'all? What do you think about the differences that I've outlined? Do you agree? Did I miss something? Is this information useful to you? For me, being able to articulate the differences between meltdowns, breakdowns, and tantrums, being able to articulate those differences for myself has helped me to explain the difference to other people. And hopefully, it'll do the same for you. Hopefully, maybe you'll have picked up some language that you can use in trying to explain these things to other people. Because the more we can educate others, the better it is for everyone, especially better for autistic folks. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question down below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, keep living your best life and know that you deserve it.